Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is tangled webs. And it comes from the quote, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive." And what we're talking about is how one lie, one omission, big or small, can spiral into darkness that is almost impossible to extricate ourselves from. So we're going to have a look at this and how dishonesty can have very far-reaching consequences. And oftentimes one lie begets another. I just heard a story about someone I know who is involved with someone who used to be the partner of a friend. And the relationship just didn't, it wasn't disclosed. Actually, before we get started, I was going to launch into it, but before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present, and then we can talk about it. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any negativity, any stress, tension, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying all your cells, all your organs, all your molecules, all your electrons. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very, very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that tickling and tingling and that wonderful sensation, and allow yourselves to become present right here, right now. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, we're talking about tangled webs. And that's such a great representation because one lie or one omission, even sometimes if it's well intended, can end up spiraling into very, very complicated webs of additional lies and deceits. And I don't imagine that that too many of us are really engaged in lying, and yet we may inadvertently, not well, less than consciously, or maybe even in a well-meaning way, omit certain pieces of information when sharing with others. And sometimes the consequences of that choice or those choices can result in really complicated situations that have pretty intense social consequences. Good morning, Dennis. Menschness. Dennis says, good morning, your Menschness. Good morning, Sir Mensch. It's great to have you here this morning, Dennis. Thanks for chiming in. Good morning, Lisa. So good to have you here with us. So we're talking about tangled webs and how little lies, sometimes even lies of omission, maybe even well-intended, can turn into big social consequences. And so I was talking about a story of a person that ended up dating an ex of a friend of theirs. And the thing is that the friend doesn't know, and the friend is still enamored of the ex. And so you can imagine how, as time goes by, this kind of lie or this kind of omission just ends up getting murkier and murkier, right? Where where once the truth comes out, there's going to be hell to pay, right? And so, excuse me, looking at our lives, maybe there are situations, I'm kind of remembering family dynamics where certain factions of the family weren't speaking to other factions of the family, and then there were crossover people, from the one faction to the other, and they wouldn't say what was happening, like maybe one person, the crossover person made a date to get together with the other faction of the family and didn't say so, or part of the family would include certain people but not others, and so the event was kept from the ones that weren't included. But when the truth comes out, it's often a whole lot worse, because the bond of trust is broken, right? So maybe what we're talking about with these webs of lies that get deeper and darker is how one deception kind of begets another. And it's interesting, I don't lie, and it's not entirely because I have a moral conviction about it, but it's not entirely because of that. I think years and years ago, I lied about something. I don't even remember. Good morning, Rosalind. We're talking about tangled webs and lies begetting more lies and creating all kinds of social consequences. And anyway, I think I lied about something, years ago, and I ended up paying a substantial price for it. I don't even remember the circumstances. It was eons ago. I just discovered, good morning, Jennifer. And you may have also had a similar discovery that lying, it's tough to keep track, and so one lie spirals easily into another lie. And this is even when there are what we might call white lies. I had a conversation about this yesterday with a friend, and because we were talking about honesty. And what is honesty? Is honesty full disclosure? And do we have different levels of honesty with different people? And is omission deceitful? There are cases when omission can be deceitful, for sure. Like in this situation where the person who's dating the ex is having conversation with the friend, and not disclosing that they are now dating the ex. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's kind of convoluted. And I'm trying to be I'm trying to be a little bit obtuse about it on purpose. Lisa says, my daughter's upset with me now for lying. Okay. This is interesting because maybe your daughter is misperceiving something as a lie. I guess we get to find out. So to continue, I have been going through so much change and growth. I'm getting my happy back, which, Lisa, congratulations. That is such a big, big, big deal, to be going through, doing the work, putting in the energy to find your way back to happy. So congratulations on that. So Lisa continues, but she cannot deal. As a result, I am omitting parts of my life. This, as you stated, has led to her feeling I'm a liar. I go out of my way not to lie. However, keeping part of my life private from her and her judgments backfired. We aren't even speaking now. Now what? She says I'm a liar and sneaky. I have a lot going on to share, but she doesn't get it. Yeah, so this is a challenge. This is a challenge. So omissions can have social consequences. Now, the thing is, Lisa, and I don't know if you are writing letters to her or, if you're reaching out and trying to communicate or what, but maybe it would be valuable to consider, whether you send it or not, to write a letter saying, first of all, what is the assumption about my obligation to be sharing all aspects of my life? Like what is the assumption of your right to know what's going on with me? Where is that? And why is it that you feel that my not sharing that information is a violation somehow? What is it that got violated? If somebody asks you a direct question, you evade the question. It's different from saying, you know what, I prefer not to share that at this time. And so maybe what your daughter's resentment is that she feels that she's not been included in your inner circle, perhaps. Maybe, I don't know what the circumstances are about the omissions, but, if I'm saying I'm in love with this person and you're not telling me that you're dating them, that might be a problem. That's kind of a big omission. I don't know what your situation is. But what it sounds like to me is that somehow on some level, your daughter feels like her trust was violated, or that she had some kind of right to know something about you, which maybe she didn't. Maybe that was an assumption on her part. And it's certainly within your right to not choose to not share information with her because you don't want her judgment. And maybe if you speak that, it gives it more, it makes it more above board. So it's not a clandestine kind of omission. It's a conscious and deliberate choice to say, you know what? I'm keeping parts of my life private. I'm entitled to do that. So when that's spoken, it's different than trying to cover up the situation, which is exactly, I'm not saying this is the case for you, Lisa, but in this situation that I'm talking about with the friends and the ex and all of that, the ex is dating the new friend, and they're going to places where people won't see them. So they're deliberately being clandestine about the relationship. And so what happens is that the hole gets dug deeper and deeper, right? That one lie can lead to more. And of course, as we go back, the social consequences. When this thing in the situation that I'm talking about finally shows up, finally is exposed, there's going to be hell to pay. There's going to be bodies everywhere, because people will for sure have experienced betrayal, because in this case, there are lies, direct lies to someone's face. I think that when we announce our boundaries, then we take ownership of them in a way that is very different from being clandestine, like trying to hide what's going on. It's a whole different thing. Even things about ourselves, things about our pasts, whatever, when we take ownership of them, it's a whole different ballgame. So I get wanting to not share certain information because you don't want to contend with somebody's judgment. And we do have a right to privacy. So Lisa says, I think you're right. I'm going through a divorce, and out of respect to my ex, I've been quiet. She knows who I'm dating, her biological dad. I thought I was protecting her, keeping things quiet. Now I'm uninvited for Christmas and my grandson is suffering. I've really created a mess. So Lisa, probably you made a judgment call, and you made a judgment call that has had consequences. So I don't know if you've owned up to, look, this was well intended. I intended to be quiet about this and keep it private because whatever your reasons are, and out of respect to your ex, you haven't said what's so. I think you can say, I never intended to hurt you. I wasn't trying to keep secrets out of shame. I just didn't want to make things worse. Whatever, I imagine you had a really positive intention. And if you acknowledge that you've created a mess and that wasn't what you meant to do, and that you love her, and I mean, that's about what you can do, is to say, we're dating, I care for him, whatever the situation is, to say I've been going through all kinds of changes. But I think at this point, what's called for is radical honesty, because that's the only way to potentially clear the slate. It may not, but but it may, to just lay it out there. And you didn't want her judgments, and now it's come back tenfold. And that's the poster story, really, for small deceits becoming something way bigger. And so Lisa says, the sad part is I'm happy and I'm in love and creating a future. I was in Delaware looking at houses last week, and I can't even share that with her. It's so sad and hurtful. So I don't think it's sad that you're happy and in love and creating a future. I think that's amazing. And you say you can't even share it with her. I'm wondering if you can't share it with her because she's not talking to you. Maybe you get to just, I don't know if because you're going through a divorce, you were keeping things quiet, and I don't know all the circumstances, but it seems like it's already out in the open. So maybe you get to share it anyway, even if it's one-sided sharing, and to just lay it out there. Write the letter and then sit on it for a little bit and decide whether or not to send it. But to just lay it out there and to share how much you care about her and how much you miss her and your grandson, and that you're sorry for whatever hurt she feels, and you'd be open to talking it through. And I mean, in these kinds of circumstances, when there's this kind of experience of betrayal, whether it's betrayal or not, this experience of betrayal, it takes a lot to rebuild trust and connection. And it often means eating humble pie, like beyond your fill. Lisa says, I sent her a text yesterday telling her how I miss her. You're only as happy as your saddest child. So I'm going to challenge that, Lisa. You get to turn that around. Your saddest child is her own person. And no matter what you do, however safe a space you create for her, she's got to come part way to choose to entertain what you say, or yeah, Jennifer says, thank you for challenging that. So your happiness is not dependent on anybody else but yourself. And so if your child is unhappy, you have to recognize that your child has her own choices. And you can't make her happy. You can create circumstances that might be an opening to her happiness, but you cannot make her happy. And so I really invite you, Lisa, to revisit that whole idea of making your happiness dependent upon her happiness. That's a recipe for disaster. When we make our own well-being dependent upon the well-being of somebody else, we're in a bad space, because then we have no sovereignty at all over our lives. We have no control. We have no ownership of our lives. We're giving it away to circumstances beyond our control or our influence. I mean, maybe you have some influence, but you certainly don't have control. So please revisit that, Lisa, and recognize that you're entitled to your happiness. And a text is not a letter. A text is not, saying I miss you is not. Lisa says, I didn't think of it that way. Thank you for the insight. That's why I love you, Mira. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. And I appreciate that you have openness to hear me challenging you. That's what we get to do all the time, is challenge ourselves. I mean, believe me, I do this for myself as well. Looking at, well, wait a second, what's up with that idea? What's up with that assumption? I think it's really important. I guess here's the deal, Lisa. You get to choose between looking good, and this is an oversimplification, looking good, like to say I miss you, whatever, or looking bad, maybe, when you lay it out on the line and say, here's what was going on for me, this is why I made this choice, I whatever it is, to lay it on the line, and to be risking her rejection even when you make yourself vulnerable, or allow it to perpetuate without your intervention. It might continue anyway, but at this point, I don't know. Again, going through a divorce, I know that's really sticky, and sometimes you have to be really careful about perceptions and all of that. But if she knows that if you're dating this other person, her biological father is in some way threatening to the divorce, if she knows it, it's likely that your ex is going to know it as well. So I guess you have to weigh. It's tough. It's like walking through a minefield. You have to weigh what's what. I mean, one of my family members, I heard, has been angry at me. They didn't tell me, but somebody else told me that one of my family members is angry at me, and therefore hasn't been communicating with me because they're angry about me about something that is a total misperception on their part anyway. So, and then I heard that this family member was going through a really difficult time. And so I reached out and I said, hey, I heard about this situation, and I just want to let you know I love you, and I'm here for you. And they actually responded saying, thank you so much for the support. I really am going through a tough time. And so what that took was me stepping outside of myself enough, and whatever feelings I might have about the judgments that this person made on me that I believe are unfounded, to be a higher expression of who I am. And to just really stay true to alignment with my own values and my own priorities. So I invite you to look at what in this whole dynamic may be out of alignment for you in your experience of yourself. What might have been out of alignment? Because when we go out of alignment with ourselves, all kinds of hell breaks loose. And the universe reflects that misalignment back to us. Anyway, I have to go because I have an appointment with a client. And I just want to say thank you. And Lisa, particularly, thank you for your candor and your authenticity. And I hope that maybe something we said today is going to support you in moving through this. Lisa says, I did let her know in the text that she's the first thing I think of when I wake up and the last thing before I go to sleep. I let her know I'm here when she's ready. That's beautiful, Lisa. That's beautiful. And it's not the same as addressing her upset, from your vantage point and sharing what's so with you. I don't know that you have the bandwidth to be able to do that. So thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. And I am so grateful to all of you. I am Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And it is my pleasure and privilege to share this time with you. Until next time,